Deepwoken is the best game on Roblox. I hate to admit it, and I'm sure many other players of Deepwoken hate to admit it, but Monad Studios East has truly made what I think is the single best game on the entire Roblox platform in a variety of factors. In today's video, I just want to talk about why I believe Deepwoken is the best game on Roblox, yet still has potential to improve, along with why many people don't want to play it, despite how good it actually is because of either the community or stigmas surrounding the game. Before we get into it, I'm going to be live at twitch.tv/Reaconteur 20 minutes after this video goes up, and also subscribe. Along with that, a new song cover has been posted for YouTube members of any tier, so buy a YouTube membership even at the lowest tier if you want to hear my monthly songs. Now let's get straight into it. Deepwoken compared to modern Roblox is somewhat like a breath of fresh air compared to California. It's original, which is a rarity these days. It's got a lot of replay value due to the unique combat system, even if not everyone likes it as much as other games. Even I personally prefer Rogue Lineage over Deepwoken for its combat, but also outside of direct gameplay, Deepwoken has some of the best lore and story in any Roblox game, which makes the world captivating and intriguing. Most of the Roblox games are lacking in most departments. Some games go all out on combat and don't even try making lore or a story. Many of them can't even make lore or a story due to either the game's simplicity or the fact that many Roblox games today are taken from other source materials, making it so they can't make a properly originally developed story. Look at ABA. That game's literally just an arena, and it's all just ripped anime characters from other sources of media. There's no real original thought put into that game. People have probably been thinking about anime characters from different verses fighting for the last 30 to 40 years, and it just took ABA to finally make it a game that wasn't dead on release. Which, to be fair, ABA is still trash, but it's on Roblox, so there's leniency. And look at Type Soul. They tried making an individual story, but that never worked out because trying to modify the story of something which already exists, like Bleach, to make your own game fit into it never really worked too well. Deepwoken has the advantage of being entirely original, meaning the developers can do whatever they want to it. And although my favorite part of Deepwoken is the lore and world building, that isn't all it has. Many game communities will glaze their games because of the lore while completely passing over mediocre gameplay. Not that I don't like Deltarune, but I feel like it's a good example of gameplay being written off as passable due to people liking the story. Meanwhile, in comparison, Undertale was a much more coherent game in its actual mechanics. Deepwoken in this case is Undertale. The lore and story are a big highlight, but that's not to say the gameplay is lacking either with the boss fights and the combat. But with all that being said, why don't some people like Deepwoken? Well, first of all, and the biggest downside to it is the community. The community is very unwelcoming most of the time. It's like a bunch of self-obsessed, ego-driven teenagers who are all convinced Deepwoken is niche and totally not mainstream, who like to brag about how good the game is to randoms while simultaneously gatekeeping it and trying to keep people from joining the community. Lots of the people who play Deepwoken only play Deepwoken, and it's always super easy to tell because a Deepwoken player who's obsessed with Deepwoken never stops talking about fucking Deepwoken. They'll hear the word deep and activate like a sleeper cell, interjecting Deepwoken into everything they talk about. Like, they'll be like, deep? Like Deepwoken? And I hate that shit so bad. And then when new players try to learn the game, lots of Deepwoken players will go out of their way to ruin the experience for them. And look, it's not all Deepwoken players. Even when I did a video testing out the game's community and player base during the free week on an alt, I actually had a pretty easy time and I got helped by some cool players. The entire community isn't full of fat losers, but there are quite a bit of fat losers is the point I'm making. And think about it this way. If you surround 100 skinny people with 10 fat people on the outside and they make a big fat fucking ring, you're not gonna see those skinny people now, are you? Well, think of Deepwoken's community just like that. All of the unwelcoming players sit at the edge of the community, pushing people away, when you really get into it, a lot of the community is actually pretty welcoming. I feel like the fat losers are just a very vocal minority. I think most of Deepwoken's community is fairly chill. However, events like Purge Week, where thousands of players organize an event to kill new players and turn them away from the game, are lame. But not everyone is like that, and I think a lot of the players in the community are actually quite welcoming, and if you found some cool people to play with, you'd enjoy the game a lot. All it really takes is friends these days. Another surprisingly common reason people avoid Deepwoken is actually kind of because of me. Some of the most popular videos on my channel, and some of the most popular Deepwoken videos of all time actually, are my ban appeal videos. And tons of non-Deepwoken players actually watch these videos, because total, these videos actually have millions of views. The problem with that, however, is that they see how many people get banned by the anti-cheat, write fake stories, and then they think they might just get banned by playing the game. Or they'll see these stories that people write about how their accounts got hacked, or about about how they got flung, even though there's no proof for it, and they'll be like, oh my god, you can get banned from deepwoken for doing nothing. Just no. 99% of deepwoken players who get banned are rightfully banned if it is by the anti-cheat. It has a multi-strike system. You won't just get banned for nothing, and I've never even met anyone who's been banned anytime after 2023, when the game first came out, and both deepwoken and Roblox had very different physics at the time, which made things like flings much more common. But realistically, even if you play without clips because your computer can't handle it, a vast majority of people won't need to fear getting banned. Clips are much more useful for reports and restores than actual ban appeals most of the time, but it is good to have those appeals available. So I think you still should play with clips, but if you can't, realistically, you probably won't get banned. And another group of people who I really don't understand are the ones saying, so I have to play with clips on all the time? Like, if you don't already do that, like, most computers now kind of have clipping software on them, you know that, right? Like, Windows 11 has its own clipping software built in. NVIDIA GPUs have the NVIDIA Shadowplay and all that stuff built in. There's so many ways to clip that are just built into computers. Unless you have an older one, in which case, yes, I do understand not being able to clip all the time. Along with that, another big reason why people don't want to play deepwoken is because the game is pretty hard compared to most other Roblox games. I personally don't think it's hard, but that's because I came from its predecessor game, which was way harder and less forgiving. But this game is still hard, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook that because they personally don't find it hard anymore. It's got permanent death and character loss, and the enemy patterns are harder to remember in this game compared to most other games on Roblox, where enemies kind of just run at you in a single file line like zombies while you outrange or kite them. For most Roblox players, deepwoken would be a brutally difficult experience, and on top of that, for the people who do have friends and make decent enough progress, they're usually too afraid of wiping to play the game solo, and they rarely ever learn enemy moves, which is part of why I think deepwoken is such a great game. You can't just get boosted and expect to stay there forever, because in due time you'll either get bored of being ass and doing nothing, or you'll wipe trying to learn things you should have a long time ago. The PvE and permadeath are like a built-in equalizer for people's power levels. Many people believe that deepwoken's permadeath in today's environment is a useless gimmick that's just supposed to make the game captivating because it doesn't really affect good players. But it's not meant to. It's supposed to gatekeep the high power levels for players who aren't as good, as a divider to ensure only people who are good at the game can actually manage to stay at their desired power levels. I can't wait for the top comment of this video to be a timestamp of what I just said and then, oh, but did Archmage and Reaconteur think of that? Or something like that, which it's gonna be funny. And they probably didn't think of that, in all honesty, but that is not what the permadeath does these days in comparison to what it used to, which was make the game punishing to progress in. However, as players got better, that permadeath became less and less of a threat. At some point in time, you'll be good enough that where no matter what, as long as you're not jumped by a player, you're not really in danger in the depths due to understanding most of the monsters' AIs and movesets. Maybe due to lag you could die, but that's restorable most of the time. But that's the beauty of deepwoken. When the developers said deepwoken was skill versus skill and not power versus power all the way back in 2022, I believe they meant this for progression and PvE more than anything. PvE is already the most important part of the game. In comparison to Rogue Lineage especially, deepwoken is a very PvE based game, and all of the important parts of the story and lore occur in PvE. You can enjoy deepwoken without ever fighting a single player on your own accord, and this is where the skill versus skill argument comes from. Someone who is skilled in PvE will always be fine in deepwoken. You could play the game for 100 years straight and never wipe, opposed to a new player or someone who's just bad at the PvE. They could be max power level and the game will punish them for this, wiping them in the depths trials and layer 2, while good players are rewarded. It's not skill versus skill necessarily all the time in PvP due to the nature of the game's builds and how they can be designed, but in PvE, when you compare two players, it will always be skill versus skill, not power versus power. Because just because you're power 20 doesn't mean you can steamroll any enemy in the game, but if you're skilled enough, you can steamroll any enemy in the game without even getting hit at any power level, and I think that's where the phrase is supposed to come from. Deepwoken is the best game on Roblox because it is also one of the most fair games on Roblox. Someone who's been playing since release will always have an advantage over someone who just started the game, but if you try hard enough, you can meet their level of skill in just a few weeks to a month, and then Deepwoken to them can become what Deepwoken is to you. This game is way smaller than a lot of people think it really is, which can be a good thing because if you apply yourself and try to learn it, then the game can be understood in its entirety in just a few weeks' time. That's where games like simulators and tycoons don't stand up to it, because someone who's been playing a simulator every single day since it came out is gonna stay at the #1 spot on the leaderboards for that game, and they're never gonna leave unless they stop playing. Someone who plays Deepwoken could be #1 today, but in just a few weeks' time, you could potentially be #1 yourself in like Chime of Conflict or the PvE ratings and stuff like that for guilds. It's not really about playtime, it's about skill and experience and how fast you can learn, and that's why it's fair. But that brings me to the final downside of deepwoken. There is no instant gratification in this game. Many Roblox players are accustomed to simulators and Roblox games with very simple gameplay loops that reward you the whole way through. Deepwoken actively punishes you to teach you the game, and this gets frustrating. You only receive the gratification that you want after making real progress, after beating bosses that you couldn't before. Deepwoken's gameplay loop is built on a foundation of losing and dying, and only after losing and dying can you start to understand things enough to finally win and feel that satisfaction. Your own satisfaction is built on a mountain of your own Roblox corpses. So if you don't like to spend time on things to feel gratified, if you just want your quick dopamine hits, then deepwoken is not for you, because you need to put time into this game to make it work, and that's how it's always been. But it is part of the reason for why, even though I do talk a lot of shit about deepwoken, I truly do believe it is the best game on the entire Roblox platform from a pure creativity and design standpoint. Deepwoken is truly unique, despite the platform it's on being full of copies and rips made to maximize profit. Deepwoken is just a game made by people who care, and that is something that I will always respect. And then again, if I call deepwoken ass, what does that make the rest of the platform? I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. New song cover available for all YouTube members, and I'll have another one out in early August or mid-August as well. Check me out over at Twitch, twitch.tv/Reaconteur, and on the live channel, Raycon Live, which is where I post streams that get edited into regular videos. So, you know, a 7-hour stream gets turned into a 45-minute video that you can enjoy. No Roblox over there. All me, all my personality. And I will actually be face revealing over there, and exclusively over there. My face will never be seen on this channel consistently, so when I do face reveal, it'll be for the live channel and Twitch almost exclusively. Anyway, shout out to my YouTube members of Tier 2 or higher: Philip, Akios, Sugikuni, Zerksky, Fun Guns, Crypto, Broccoli, Delusional Mo, Dev, Suited Wendigo, love you, moi, Abrowski, Silos, Bunny Masher, Freshy, Corin, Theos Banner, and Drizzy Drake Fan. I love you all, have an amazing day, and goodbye.